I backed the patrol truck out of the visitor center lot right as the sun started dropping behind the ridge. Late April, so we still had maybe 40 minutes of decent light, but down in the cave system it was already full dark. Always was. Tommy had caught me at the equipment shed 5 minutes earlier, clipboard in one hand and that look on his face that meant my easy evening just got complicated. Got a no-show, he'd said. Family from El Paso, checked in at 10:40 this morning. Never checked out. I'd nodded. Grabbed my keys off the pegboard. How many? 4 on the register. Mom, dad, 2 kids. Signed up for the self-guided natural entrance route. Gate sweep already through? Finishing now. I need you at the trailhead before they lock it down. That was it. No drama, no speculation. Tommy ran things clean, and I appreciated that about him. He trusted me to handle the basic stuff without micromanaging, and I'd worked hard to keep it that way since I transferred in. 18 months at Carlsbad, and I'd built a reputation as solid. Boring, maybe. But solid worked fine for me. I rolled through the parking lot doing a quick visual check of the remaining vehicles. Just a handful left. A couple of sedans near the front entrance, probably staff. A park service van by the maintenance building. And somewhere up at the natural entrance trailhead, apparently, one rental SUV that should have been gone 2 hours ago. Missing family checks were usually nothing. People lost track of time underground, took the long route, stopped at every formation to snap photos. Or they bailed early and forgot to sign out at the desk because they were wrangling tired kids and just wanted to hit the road. Happened twice a month, easy. But at night it got trickier. You couldn't just call down into the cave. No cell service, no intercom system on the self-guided routes. If they were still down there and something had gone wrong, twisted ankle, diabetic emergency, kid wandering off into a closed passage, then every minute counted. I pulled onto Cavern Road and headed west. The truck rattled over the same potholes I'd memorized by now. Maintenance kept saying they'd resurface this stretch, probably next fiscal year. Emmy sat in the passenger seat messing with her tablet. She'd been riding along with me for 3 weeks now, some kind of ecology internship through New Mexico State. Mostly, she just observed and took notes, which was fine. She asked a lot of questions, though. That part got old. So, if they're still inside, she said, eyes on her screen, do we go in after them or wait for them to come out? Depends on what we find at the trailhead. But like, procedurally, I kept my eyes on the road. If there are vehicles there and they're overdue, we confirm they entered the cave. Check the sign-in logs, verify the timeline. Then we do a call-out at the natural entrance. Most people hear a ranger yelling and they hustle up pretty quick. And if they don't, then we go in. She nodded and made a note on her tablet, typed for a few seconds. Have you done that before? A cave extraction? Couple times. How deep? Deepest was about 700 feet. Guy had a heart episode in the big room. We brought a stretcher and a medic. Did he make it? Yeah. Ended up being angina, not a full coronary. Spent a night at the hospital in Carlsbad and went home. Emmy scrolled through something on her Maps app. Probably the park's tunnel system. She'd been weirdly interested in the service routes since day one. I figured it was just grad student curiosity. Everything's fascinating when you're 24 and writing a thesis. Are the old access tunnels still open? She asked. Right on schedule. Some are. Most aren't. Why not? Safety, structural issues. Some of them were dug back in the 20s and they're not up to code anymore. We keep a few open for maintenance and research, but the public routes are the only ones we use regularly. What about emergencies? I glanced at her. What about them? Like, if someone got lost or hurt in a restricted section, would you use the old tunnels to get to them faster? If we had to. I turned my attention back to the road. But people don't usually end up in restricted sections. That's why they're restricted. She went quiet for a minute. Made another note. I didn't mind Emmy, really. She worked hard, stayed out of the way, didn't complain when the days ran long. But she had that academic thing where everything needed to be a research question. Sometimes a cave was just a cave, and a missing family was just a missing family, and you didn't need to overthink it. The transfer to Carlsbad had been my idea. Well, my idea after the divorce finalized, and I needed to be anywhere that wasn't Flagstaff. I'd been working law enforcement for the Park Service for 11 years by that point, mostly at Grand Canyon and Petrified Forest. Good parks, hard jobs, lots of rescues, lots of drunk tourists doing stupid things on cliff edges. One really bad winter where we pulled 3 separate bodies out of the canyon after people tried hiking in a snowstorm. It piled up. The calls, the paperwork, the families crying in the ranger station while you explained that no, we hadn't found their son yet. And no, the helicopter couldn't fly in this weather. Then Rachel left and took the dog. And I spent 4 months sleeping on a buddy's couch in Tucson. And when a posting opened up at Carlsbad, I applied the same day. Cave park, desert, smaller staff, fewer idiots trying to base, jump into the void. Tommy had hired me during a phone interview. Told me straight up he needed someone with tactical experience who could handle medical emergencies and didn't mind working weird hours. I told him I could do all that and also wanted a place where I could keep my head down and do my job without a lot of noise. He'd laughed, said that was exactly what Carlsbad was. Turned out he was right. 18 months in and I'd had maybe a dozen real incidents. Couple of heat exhaustion cases on the desert trails. One dumbass who tried climbing into a formation and broke his collarbone. A lost kid who'd wandered into the gift shop bathroom and fallen asleep in a stall while his parents lost their minds outside. Routine stuff. Quiet stuff. Tommy had been good to me. Didn't push me into the office politics. Didn't make me go to the interagency meetings unless he absolutely needed a second body in the room. He saw that I did my job well and on time, and he left me alone. That was the deal. Unspoken but solid. I appreciated it more than I'd ever told him. The road curved north, and the trailhead parking area came into view. Small lot, maybe 20 spaces, with a concrete path leading to the natural entrance. During peak season, it'd be full by 9 in the morning. Right now, off-season and close to sunset, it should have been empty. It wasn't. One vehicle sat in the far corner of the lot. A white rental SUV, something generic. A Chevy, maybe. Both front doors were hanging open. The hazard lights were blinking. I slowed the truck and pulled in at an angle so my headlights swept across the scene. No people, no movement. Emmy sat forward. That's weird. Yeah, it was. I put the truck in park and left the engine running, grabbed my radio off my belt and keyed it. Dispatch, this is Snyder at Natural Entrance Trailhead. I got eyes on the vehicle. White SUV, rental plates, doors open, hazards on. No occupants visible. Static, then Tommy's voice. Copy that. Approach and assess. I'm sending Rodney your way as backup. 10-4. I clipped the radio back and looked at Emmy. Stay in the truck. What if you need... Stay in the truck. She frowned but didn't argue. I stepped out into the cooling air and walked toward the SUV. Took my time. Watched the shadows between the juniper bushes and the rocks. Listened. Nothing. Just wind and the distant hum of the visitor center generators downhill. The SUV sat there blinking at me, patient and wrong. I stepped out of the truck and the cooling air hit me. Late April in the desert means it drops fast once the sun goes behind the ridge. I kept my hand near my belt and walked slow toward the SUV. The hazards kept blinking. On, off. Orange light washing over white paint and then gone. Both front doors hanging open exactly how I'd seen them from the truck. No movement. No sound except wind pushing through the junipers and that low hum from the generators way down at the visitor center. I stopped about 10 feet back from the vehicle and just looked. That's when I saw them. Wet footprints, thin dark lines on the pale concrete, leading away from the driver's side door, cutting across the parking lot toward where the paved path drops down to the natural entrance. I moved closer and crouched next to the nearest print. Bare feet, not boots, not sneakers, bare feet. The prints showed all 5 toes, the ball, the heel. Adult-sized, probably male based on the length, maybe size 10 or 11. The edges were already drying in the wind, but the center still held moisture. Water, I figured. Not mud, just water. I followed the line with my eyes, and that's when the wrongness really settled in. The prints didn't just go forward, they went back and forth. Short little turns, maybe 2 feet each direction, layered over each other in spots where the person had paced. Stood in one place and just walked back and forth for long enough to leave a whole mess of overlapping prints. Then they continued forward again toward the trailhead. I stood up and pulled my radio off my belt. "Dispatch, Snyder, you copy?" Static, just hissing white noise. I turned the squelch down and tried again. "Tommy, you there?" More hissing, then nothing. Dead air that wasn't even static anymore, just empty sound. I switched to channel 2. Same thing, channel 3. Nothing. Radios didn't just die out here. We had repeaters. The system was solid. I'd used it 40 minutes ago from the equipment shed with 0 problems. I clipped the radio back and took a breath. Okay, control what you can control. I walked back to the patrol truck where Emmy sat in the passenger seat with her window down. She had her tablet out, but her eyes were locked on me. "Stay here," I said. "Keep the headlights on this SUV. I need you to document everything you see. Tracks, timestamps, any movement near the tree line. Anything." "What's wrong with the radio?" she asked. Her voice had that edge people get when they know something's off. "Don't know yet. Just stay put and keep your doors locked." "You want me to?" "Document. That's it. Don't leave the truck." She nodded fast. "Okay. Yeah. I got it." I grabbed my mag light from the door pocket and checked my sidearm. Glock 22, standard issue, fully loaded. I'd carried it every shift for 18 months and never pulled it once except at the range. Probably wouldn't need it now. But the bare footprints and the dead radio and the open doors with nobody around made my hand rest on the grip for a second before I turned toward the trailhead. The wet prints kept going. I followed them across the lot, past the wooden sign that said, "Natural Entrance Trail, Steep Grade, Allow 1 hour," and onto the paved path that curved down into the rocks. My boots made solid sounds on the concrete. The maglite beam cut through the growing dark and picked up each print as I went. Bare feet, still wet, still heading down. The path dropped at a steep angle, switchbacking between limestone boulders and scraggly desert plants that didn't need much water. I'd walked this route maybe 200 times. Knew every crack in the pavement, every spot where rainwater pooled, every place the handrail needed tightening. The footprints stayed right in the center of the path for about 50 yards. Then they veered off. I stopped and swept the flashlight to the left. The prints cut across a shallow wash, the kind that only runs water during monsoon season. This time of year, it was just dry sand and scattered rock. Except the prints kept showing wet, darker sand where the foot had pressed down. I stepped off the pavement and followed them into the wash. The ground changed under my boots, loose and shifting instead of solid. The wash curved around a big sandstone outcrop and the air got still. No wind down here, just my breathing and the crunch of sand. The prints led straight toward a chain-link fence. I'd seen this fence before. Maintenance access. One of those spots Emmy had asked about on the drive over. The old routes from when they first started developing the cave back in the 20s and 30s. Most of them got sealed off or repurposed when they built the modern elevator system and paved the main routes. This one connected to a secondary shaft that maintenance used maybe twice a year for equipment access and structural checks. The fence stood about 8 feet tall, with 3 strands of barbed wire angled out at the top. The gate sat in the middle, maybe 4 feet wide. And hanging on the gate, faded and peeling, was a yellow placard with the biohazard symbol and text I couldn't read anymore from weather damage. I'd walked past this gate during my orientation. Tommy told me it was locked year-round except when Manuel from maintenance needed to run welds or check the air quality sensors in the old sections. Tommy had the only key. Maybe the superintendent had a backup. That was it. I got closer and aimed the maglite at the padlock. It was twisted apart, not cut, not unlocked, twisted. The shackle bent sideways and the body of the lock warped like someone had just grabbed it and wrenched it until the metal gave up. I've seen bolt cutters, I've seen angle grinders. I've never seen a padlock that looked like someone turned it into scrap with their bare hands. The gate hung open about 6 inches. Just enough for a person to slip through sideways if they didn't mind scraping their shoulders on the frame. The wet footprints went right up to the gap and disappeared into the dark on the other side. I stood there for a few seconds, listened, heard nothing. Then I pulled the gate open wider. The hinges made a low grinding sound, rust and grit. I stepped through. The air changed immediately. Warm, not desert warm or stuffy warm, wet warm. The kind you feel in your lungs when you breathe. And under that, something sour, organic. The smell you get from things that grow in places without light. Fungus, maybe, or algae in standing water. I've been in caves all over the Southwest. I know what they smell like. Mineral and cool and old. This wasn't that. This was something else. I swept my maglite left and kept moving forward. The tunnel floor was packed dirt over limestone, sloping down at maybe 15 degrees. Old timber supports braced the ceiling every 12 feet or so, probably from the 20s when they first opened sections for tours before the main elevator went in. 10 yards past the fence, I spotted the water bottle. Small thing. Plastic. One of those cartoon character brands they sell at gas stations for kids. It was crushed flat in the center where something had stepped on it or gripped it hard enough to pop the seal. The cap was gone. A little water still pooled inside the crumpled bottom half, catching my light. I stopped and crouched next to it without touching anything. The dirt around the bottle showed drag marks, long parallel grooves, maybe 4 or 5 of them, scored deep into the packed surface. They ran about 3 feet and ended in a disturbed patch where the soil was churned up. I angled my light along the marks and saw the spacing, narrow, close together. Fingernails. Someone had dragged their hand through the dirt, clawed at it. The grooves were too even to be boot scuffs and too deliberate to be random. I stood up and made myself think through the options. Smugglers sometimes used old access points to move product or people. That happened more at Guadalupe Mountains or Big Bend, but it wasn't impossible here. Or maybe some teenagers staged this whole thing as a prank. Broke the lock earlier in the week, planted evidence, waited for someone to find it. That was stupid, but not impossible either. Anything else didn't fit procedure, and procedure was what kept you functional when things got weird. I tried my radio again, keyed the mic twice and said, "Dispatch Snyder, radio check." Nothing but hiss, dead static that faded into silence. I clipped it back on my belt and kept the maglite low, sweeping the tunnel ahead. The wet footprints were gone now. The ground here was too dry and packed to hold them, but I could see scuff marks where boots had dragged or stumbled, and a smear along the left wall that might have been a hand bracing for balance. The tunnel curved right and angled steeper. I followed it down, boots crunching on loose gravel that had collected along the edges. The timber supports looked older here. Some of the cross beams sagged in the middle, and I could see gaps where the rock above had settled or shifted over the decades. The air was still that wrong kind of warm, wet. I was breathing it into my lungs and tasting something faintly sour at the back of my throat. Around the next bend, I almost walked into Rodney Johnston. He had his sidearm drawn and his flashlight up, both hands steady in a low ready stance. When my light hit him, he turned his head just enough to clock me, then nodded once and lowered the gun. "Snyder," he said. His voice was quiet and controlled. Same tone he used during the active shooter drills we ran last year at the joint training in Artesia. "Rodney." I stopped next to him and kept my light forward. "You came in through the hatch?" "Yeah. Heard Tommy's radio report about the no-show family and the open SUV. Figured I'd check the utility access on the east side in case they wandered." He gestured behind him with his flashlight. Found a torn jacket about 30 yards back, adult size, and blood smeared on the safety rail near the second junction. I looked past him into the tunnel. "How much blood?" "Enough." He paused. "Not arterial, just smeared. Like someone grabbed the rail with a bleeding hand and kept moving." I nodded. That fit with the drag marks in the water bottle. Someone injured, disoriented, moving fast or being moved. Rodney tilted his head slightly, listening. "You hear that?" I went still and focused past the sound of our breathing and the faint drip of water somewhere deeper in the tunnel. There. A sharp clicking sound, irregular rhythm. It came from ahead and below, echoing off the rock in a way that made it hard to pinpoint. It stopped for 3 seconds, then started again. 2 clicks. Pause. 1 click. Pause. 3 clicks. "Bats?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Doesn't match." Rodney kept his light steady on the tunnel ahead. "Bats don't click like that, and the cavern colony doesn't roost in the service tunnels. Too much human traffic and maintenance noise." I'd heard bats plenty of times, in the main cave sections during evening flights, in the side passages during ranger checks. They made high-pitched squeaks and rustling wing sounds when disturbed. This was different, sharper, harder, almost mechanical. "Could be structural," I said. "Settling rock or old metal shifting." Rodney didn't answer. He just adjusted his grip on his weapon and started moving forward again. I followed, keeping my mag light low and my right hand near my holster. My Glock was still secured, but I could feel the weight of it against my hip. 18 months carrying it, and I'd never drawn it outside the range. That was fine. That was normal. Most rangers went their whole careers without pulling their sidearm on duty. The tunnel floor leveled out for about 20 feet, then dropped again at a steeper angle. The walls narrowed here, closing in from 8 feet across to maybe 5. I could see more scuff marks in the dirt and a wet smear that might have been the same footprints I'd followed earlier, though the edges were too degraded to be sure. We passed the torn jacket Rodney mentioned. It was wadded against the base of a timber support, dark fabric with reflective striping along the sleeves. I didn't stop to examine it. Rodney had already cleared it, and we needed to keep moving. The clicking sound came again. Closer now. 2 clicks, pause, 3 clicks, pause, 1 click. Rodney slowed and raised his fist in a hold signal. I stopped behind him and killed my light. He did the same. We stood in total darkness for 5 seconds while my eyes adjusted to nothing. I couldn't see Rodney even though he was 3 feet ahead of me. Couldn't see the tunnel walls or the ceiling or my own hand when I lifted it in front of my face. Then I heard breathing, ragged, fast, human. Rodney's light snapped back on, and mine followed half a second later. 30 feet ahead, the tunnel opened into a wider pocket, maybe 15 feet across and 10 feet high. Natural formation, not excavated. The floor was uneven limestone with shallow pools of standing water collecting in the low spots. And in the far corner, pressed against the rock with his back to the wall, was a man clutching a kid. The man was maybe 40, average height, dark hair falling across his forehead. His clothes were torn and filthy, dirt smeared across his jacket and jeans. His hands were wrapped around the kid, boy, maybe 12, short dark hair, wide, terrified eyes, holding him close against his chest. Chandler Knapp. Had to be. And the kid was Donnie. I holstered my weapon and raised one hand, palm out. "Park Service," I said, kept my voice low and even. "Ranger Snyder." This is Deputy Johnston. We're here to help." Chandler stared at us. His eyes were too wide and his breathing was still coming fast and shallow. He didn't move. Rodney stepped forward slowly, light angled down so it wasn't shining directly in their faces. "Sir, are you injured? Is your son injured?" Chandler's mouth opened, but nothing came out for a second. Then he managed, Don't use the light. Not bright, it gets aggressive." I stopped moving. What gets aggressive? I don't know. His voice cracked, pale, fast. It came at us on all fours and the flashlight made it worse. Christina turned hers on full and it went straight for her. Rodney glanced at me. I could see the question in his face. Delusional, panicked, injured and confused. I looked back at Chandler. Where's Christina now and Julie? Separated. Chandler pulled Donnie tighter against him. The kid hadn't said a word, just stared at us with those wide brown eyes. We were trying to find the exit and something grabbed Julie. Christina went after her and told us to run. I took Donnie and He stopped, swallowed. We hid. I thought it would leave, but I keep hearing it, the clicking. The sound came again. 2 clicks, pause, 1 click, louder now, coming from somewhere behind us in the tunnel we'd just walked through. Rodney turned, light sweeping back the way we'd come. I did the same, putting myself between the tunnel entrance and the naps. Nothing there, just empty passage and timber supports and darkness beyond our lights. I turned back to Chandler. "Can you walk?" He nodded. "Okay. We're getting you and Donnie out, right now. Stay between us and keep your eyes forward." Chandler started to stand, still holding Donnie. The kid's legs were shaking, but he stayed upright when his father set him down. And that's when I felt it. The choice locking into place. 2 people here, alive, scared but mobile. 2 people still missing, Christina and Julie. Somewhere deeper in the tunnels or back in a section we hadn't cleared yet. Procedure said extract the survivors first. Secure what you have. Radio for backup and additional resources. Go back in with a team and proper equipment. But the radio was dead. Backup was Tommy and maybe Manuel, neither of them tactical. And every minute we spent getting Chandler and Donnie to the surface was another minute Christina and Julie were alone down here, with whatever had separated them. I looked at Rodney. He was already watching me, waiting for the call. I didn't have a good answer. I looked at Chandler pressed against the limestone with his arms around Donnie. Looked at Rodney waiting on my call. Heard the clicking sound echo from somewhere behind us in the tunnel we'd just walked through. The decision wasn't hard. We had 2 people right here, alive, mobile. Christina and Julie were somewhere else in the dark with whatever made that sound. And I had no radio, no backup coming, and no idea what we were dealing with. Procedure said extract the survivors first, secure them, regroup, come back with a team. Except we didn't have a team. "We're moving," I said. "Chandler, Donnie, you stay between us, eyes forward. Don't stop unless I say stop." Chandler nodded fast, his hand gripping Donnie's shoulder. The kid's legs were still shaking, but he stayed upright. "Rodney leads," I said. "I've got rear." Rodney didn't argue. He turned and moved back toward the tunnel entrance, sidearm still in low ready, mag light cutting through the dark. Chandler shuffled forward with Donnie pressed close to his side. I let them pass me and then fell in behind, sweeping my light across the walls and ceiling every few seconds. The tunnel felt narrower on the way back. Probably wasn't. Just my brain processing the fact that something was behind us now, or beside us, or above us, in the gaps between the old timber supports. Rodney's boots scraped on packed dirt. Chandler's breathing came out ragged and too loud. Donnie didn't make a sound. We passed the spot where we'd found the torn jacket, still wadded against the timber support, dark fabric with reflective striping that didn't reflect much in the maglite beam. Rodney didn't slow down. Neither did I. The tunnel angled upward and the walls widened back to 8 feet. I remembered this section from the way in. Floor leveling out for 20 feet before the ceiling dropped lower. Rodney's light swept left and right in controlled arcs, standard clearing pattern. He'd done this before. Then the lights came on. Not my mag light, not Rodney's. Overhead fluorescence, old fixtures mounted to the timber supports every 12 feet, flickering once, twice, then holding steady with that buzzing hum that sounds like trapped insects. I stopped. Chandler stopped behind me. Rodney stopped up front and turned halfway, his face lit from above now instead of below. "Power's back," he said. I didn't answer right away. My hand stayed on my Glock. The fluorescence buzzed and flickered again, but held. "Maybe," I said. "Motion sensors?" Rodney's voice had a question in it, but also hope. Hope that this was a system doing what systems do. That maintenance had restored power remotely. That help was coming from another access point and we'd meet them halfway. I wanted to believe that. Couldn't quite manage it. The air still felt wrong. Still warm and wet with that sour, organic taste I didn't recognize. And the lights had been dead when we came through 5 minutes ago. Tommy never mentioned motion sensors in the old sections. He'd mentioned locked gates and restricted access and structural issues, but not automated lighting. "Keep moving," I said. Rodney turned back and started forward. Chandler followed with Donnie tucked against his side. I brought up the rear. Mag light still on, even though the overheads gave us enough light to see the whole tunnel now. Packed dirt, timber supports sagging in places, gaps in the ceiling where limestone showed through. Gaps. I looked up at the nearest one. A slot maybe 3 feet long and 8 inches wide, running parallel to the support beam. Natural formation, probably. Or something left over from the excavation work in the 20s when they widened the access routes. The clicking sound started again. Closer this time. 2 clicks. Pause. 3 clicks. Pause. Coming from ahead. Rodney slowed, but didn't stop. His sidearm came up a few inches. I shifted my angle so I could see past Chandler and Donnie to the tunnel ahead where it curved right and the ceiling dropped lower. Something moved in the shadows past the curve. Then it dropped, straight down from one of those ceiling slots, landing on all fours between Rodney and the rest of us. The sound it made hitting the ground wasn't right. Too wet, too soft. Like meat hitting tile. It looked human. For about half a second. Then it moved and everything stopped making sense. The proportions were wrong. Arms too long. Legs bent backward at the knee, but forward at the ankle. Ribs pressing out under skin that looked slick and too tight, like it had been stretched over bones that didn't fit. The head turned toward Rodney and I saw the mouth pulled wide by old scars running from the corners back toward the ears. The clicking sound came from its throat. Rodney fired. 3 rounds center mass, controlled pair +1. I heard the impacts. Saw the thing's torso jerk backward with each hit. It didn't go down. Didn't even slow down. It rushed Rodney in a skittering sideways gait that didn't match anything I'd ever seen move before. Rodney fired again, but it was already inside his range, already hooking his left calf with fingers that looked fused together into something closer to a claw. Rodney went down hard on his side. His mag light hit the dirt and rolled. The thing dragged him backwards 6 inches, joints bending at angles that made my brain stutter trying to process them. I moved without thinking, stepped past Chandler, brought my Glock up, and fired into the thing's head from maybe 8 feet. 2 rounds, both hits. The thing recoiled. Its head snapped back and to the left, and it made a sound I can't describe. Not a scream, not a hiss. Something between the two with that clicking underneath. Then it let go of Rodney's leg and slid backward across the dirt, still on all fours, moving fast and smooth toward the tunnel wall, toward the ceiling slot it had dropped from. It went up into that gap like it knew the route by memory, like it had done this 1,000 times. Ribs compressing, limbs folding, head tilting at an impossible angle to fit through the 8-inch opening. Then it was gone. Rodney scrambled backward on his elbows, his left leg dragging. I kept my Glock trained on the slot, but nothing moved up there, just darkness and the buzz of the fluorescent lights. "You hit?" I said. "Leg," Rodney said. His voice came out tight. "It's bad." I didn't look. Couldn't afford to look away from that slot yet. The clicking started again. Not from the slot, from the walls, from cracks in the limestone I hadn't noticed before. From gaps between the timber supports and the dirt floor. 2 clicks, pause, 1 click, pause, 4 clicks. Then more clicking answered from behind us. Different rhythm, different direction, then more from above. I looked up and saw 3 more slots in the ceiling I hadn't registered before. Narrow gaps running parallel to the beams, dark inside, deep. The clicking multiplied, echoing off the tunnel walls until I couldn't tell how many sources there were or which direction they were coming from. 5, maybe 10, maybe more. I realized we weren't dealing with just one of these things. I got my left hand under Rodney's armpit and my right on Chandler's shoulder blade, and I shoved them all forward. Rodney's leg was dragging. He tried putting weight on it, and his knee buckled. I didn't let him fall. Chandler had Donnie pressed to his side, and the kid's eyes were locked straight ahead, not blinking. Good. Better than looking at the ceiling. The clicking kept coming from every direction. Wall cracks, gaps in the timber supports. Above us in those slots I'd barely noticed before. I counted maybe 5 different rhythms, but it was hard to tell with the echoes bouncing off limestone. Could have been 10. Could have been more. "Move," I said, quiet but hard. Rodney got his right leg under him and took a step. His boot scraped dirt. Chandler shuffled forward with Donnie still glued to his side. I kept my Glock up, sweeping left to right, watching the ceiling slots. The overhead fluorescents buzzed and flickered. One went out completely for 2 seconds, then came back. Another 20 feet and we hit the section where the tunnel widened back to 8 feet across. I remembered the torn jacket, still there, wadded against the support beam. We passed it. The floor started angling up. My boots found better traction on the packed dirt. Rodney's breathing was rough and fast. I could hear Chandler whispering something to Donnie, but couldn't make out the words. The clicking stopped. All of it. Every direction. Just gone. That was worse. I kept moving. Pushed Chandler a little harder. Rodney stumbled and I caught him before he went down. His left pant leg was torn and dark with blood, but I couldn't tell how deep the wound went. Didn't matter right now. We just had to get to the fence. I tried the radio again, keyed the mic and said, "Dispatch Snyder, do you copy?" Static, then nothing. Dead air. I switched to channel 2. "Tommy, this is Snyder. If you're hearing this, we're coming out the maintenance gate with 2 civilians and 1 officer down." Nothing. Channel 3. I didn't bother with full sentences, just said, "Emmy, stay in the truck." Her mic clicked open. Burst of rough noise, footsteps maybe, or something dragging across fabric. Then it cut off hard. I stopped walking. Rodney looked back at me. Chandler kept going another 2 steps, then realized I wasn't pushing him anymore, and stopped too. I keyed the mic again. "Emmy." Nothing. "Emmy, if you can hear me, stay in the truck and lock the doors." Static for 3 seconds. Then her mic clicked open again and I heard breathing. Fast and shallow. Not talking. Just breathing. Then it cut off. She didn't stay by the SUV. I knew it immediately. Knew it the way you know you left the stove on or forgot to lock a door. She followed me in. Probably waited 5 minutes, maybe 10, then decided documenting from the truck wasn't good enough, and came through the fence to see what was happening. That was exactly the kind of thing she'd do. I'd told her twice to stay in the truck and she'd agreed, but that didn't mean anything. I looked at Rodney. She's inside. He didn't ask who, just nodded. Chandler was staring at me. "We need to keep moving." "Yeah," I said, but I didn't move yet. The tunnel ahead curved left and the ceiling started rising back to its normal height. I could see the timber supports continuing up the slope. Somewhere past that curve was the junction, then the long stretch, then the fence. Maybe 300 yards total. Rodney could make it. Chandler and Donnie could definitely make it. I scanned the walls with my mag light, caught something I hadn't registered on the way down. A narrow opening in the left wall about chest height, partially hidden behind a sagging support beam. It wasn't a natural gap, too square, cut edges. Above it, bolted to the limestone with rusty screws, was a small metal placard. White text on red background, faded but readable. Authorized personnel only. I stepped closer. The opening was maybe 3 feet wide and 5 feet tall. A stairwell, concrete steps going down at a steep angle, turning out of sight after 6 or 7 steps. The walls were the same limestone, but the cuts were cleaner, straighter. This wasn't a natural passage or even the old 1920s tourist route. This was something else. Maintenance access, maybe. Or mining drift from before the Park Service took over. I swept my light across the floor at the base of the opening. Wet footprints, bare feet. Adult-sized, same ones I'd followed from the SUV. They went down the stairs. Fresh, still wet in the centers. I looked back at Rodney. He was leaning against the tunnel wall with his weight on his right leg, Glock still in his hand, watching me. "I have to go get her," I said. Rodney nodded, didn't argue, didn't tell me it was a bad idea, just said, "We'll get them out." I pulled my spare mag light from my belt, smaller than my primary, older, the lens scratched but it worked, and handed it to him. "Straight up this tunnel. Curves left, then there's a junction. Take the right fork. Stays level for about 100 yards, then angles up. You'll see the fence." "Got it." I looked at Chandler. "You stay between him and the kid. Eyes forward. Don't stop. You get to the fence, you go through it. You get to the patrol truck, you lock the doors." Chandler nodded. His jaw was tight. Donnie didn't say anything, but his eyes tracked to me for half a second, then back to the floor. "Go now," I said. Rodney pushed off the wall and started moving. Chandler got Donnie in front of him and followed. I watched them for 10 seconds. Rodney's limp was bad, but he kept his weight shifting and his pace steady. They made it to the curve and disappeared. I turned back to the stairwell. The clicking started again, faint. Behind me, deeper in the tunnel where we'd just come from. 2 clicks, pause, 1 click. I didn't look back, just stepped through the opening and started down the stairs. The air changed immediately, hotter, damp enough I could feel it in my lungs when I breathed. The sour, organic smell was stronger here, thick enough I could almost taste it. My boots hit concrete and the sound was different. Flatter, no echo. The stairwell turned after 8 steps and kept going down. The walls were still limestone, but cut straight and smooth, not natural. Tool marks visible in the stone. Pickaxe, probably. Maybe drill and blast. Old work, the kind that doesn't get done anymore. I counted steps, 16, 20, 30. The temperature kept climbing. I could feel sweat starting under my shirt, across my shoulders, down my back. The air wasn't moving, just sitting there, heavy and wet. At 40 steps, the stairwell opened into a horizontal passage. Low ceiling, maybe 6.5 feet. I had to duck slightly. The floor was damp, not puddled, just slick, and my boots slipped a little on the first step. I slowed down, kept my mag light up and my Glock in my right hand, finger off the trigger but ready. The passage ran straight for 30 feet, then split into a T-junction, left or right. No markings, no signs. I swept my light across the floor at the junction. The wet footprints went left. But on the right wall, about 5 feet down the right-hand passage, something was tied to an exposed pipe running along the ceiling. I stepped closer. Fabric. Thin cotton, faded purple with a small geometric print. Torn into a strip about 2 inches wide and maybe 8 inches long, knotted around the pipe. Emmy's bandana. She wore it every day, usually around her neck or tied in her hair. I looked left where the footprints went, then right where the fabric was. She'd left a marker. I went right. The passage narrowed, walls closing in to maybe 4 feet across. Ceiling dropped another 6 inches. I had to hunch. My shoulders brushed limestone on both sides. The floor stayed damp and my boots kept slipping. 50 feet in, I found another strip of fabric. Same purple cotton. This one tied to a bolt sticking out of the wall at shoulder height. She was leaving a trail. Or something wanted me to think she was. I kept going. The passage curved right, then left, then opened into a wider space. Not a room exactly. Just a spot where the tunnel widened to maybe 8 feet and the ceiling rose back to 7. Old mining drift, straight cuts in the rock, timber supports every 12 feet, rusted rail tracks embedded in the floor. I recognized the setup from trainings at other sites. This was 1900s work, before Carlsbad became a park. Back when it was just a guano mine and people pulled bat droppings out by the ton to sell as fertilizer. The heat was worse here, pocketing in the still air. I could feel it pressing against my face and neck. My shirt was stuck to my back now. I scanned the walls with my mag light. The beam caught another fabric strip 20 feet ahead, tied to a support beam on the left side of the drift. Then another one past that, maybe 30 feet farther, knotted around a piece of rebar sticking out of the floor. She was marking her route, making sure she could find her way back, or making sure I could follow. I didn't like how deliberate it looked. Too evenly spaced, too visible. Emmy was smart, but she was also in a hurry and probably scared. This felt too careful. I kept moving anyway. The rail tracks in the floor ran straight down the center of the drift. Old steel, rusted orange-brown, half buried in dried mud and mineral deposits. My boots crunched on loose rock. The sound was flat and dead. No echo at all. Another fabric strip ahead. This one tied to a pipe running along the right wall about chest height. I reached it and stopped, looked past it down the drift. The passage kept going, straight and level for as far as my light reached, then fading into darkness. More timber supports, more rail tracks, the ceiling sagging in spots where the beams had shifted. I listened. Nothing. No clicking. No footsteps. No breathing except my own. I keyed my radio. Tried again even though I knew it wouldn't work. Emmy, if you can hear me, stop moving and stay where you are. Static, then dead air. I let go of the mic and kept walking. The next marker was 50 feet farther. Purple fabric tied around a broken piece of timber leaning against the left wall. Then another one past that, knotted to a bolt in the ceiling. They were pulling me deeper. I knew that. Knew it was probably a bad idea to keep following. Knew the smart thing was to go back, get Rodney and Chandler and Donnie out, regroup, come back with more people and better equipment and a plan. But Emmy was down here. And every minute I spent going back was another minute she was alone with whatever had separated the Knapp family and dragged Rodney's leg and moved wrong in the ceiling slots. I kept going. The drift angled down. Not steep, maybe 5 degrees, but enough I could feel it in my knees and the way my weight shifted forward. The floor got wetter. Not puddled yet, but slick enough my boots were sliding every third step. I slowed down. Kept my mag light steady and my Glock up. Another fabric strip, tied to a pipe. Then another. Then another. Too many now. Too close together. One every 20 feet, then every 15, then every 10. That wasn't right. Emmy wouldn't use her bandana this fast. She'd make it last. Space the markers farther apart. Save fabric in case she needed it later. Unless she was panicking. Or unless she wasn't the one leaving them anymore. I stopped walking. Stood there in the drift with my light on the next marker 30 feet ahead, tied to a support beam, purple fabric hanging limp in the still air. The heat pressed down. I could feel sweat running down my temples, down my spine. My breathing was too loud. I looked behind me. The drift stretched back the way I'd come, timber supports fading into darkness. No movement, no sound. Looked forward again. The fabric strip ahead swayed slightly. Not from wind. There wasn't any wind down here. It just moved. I watched it for 5 seconds. It didn't move again. I started walking. Slow. Finger on the trigger guard now, not off it. Reached the fabric strip. Examined it with my light. Same purple cotton, same geometric print, knotted around the beam the same way as the others. I looked past it, another strip 20 feet ahead, and another one past that, and another. They kept going, down into the drift, down into the dark, pulling me deeper. The passage opened into a chamber maybe 12 feet across with an 8-foot ceiling, candles everywhere, stuck into cracks in the limestone, wedged between rocks on the floor, dripping wax down the walls in long, frozen runs. I counted maybe 20 of them, all lit. The air smelled like paraffin and that same sour, organic rot underneath. Christina Knapp sat against the far wall with her wrists bound in front of her with what looked like nylon cord or zip ties and silver duct tape across her mouth. Dark hair down to her shoulders, torn sleeve on her left arm. She stared straight at me without blinking. Didn't move, just stared. I stepped into the chamber with my Glock still up and swept the room. No movement except candle flames. The walls had slots in them, narrow gaps running horizontal at different heights, same as the ceiling slots in the main tunnel. I counted 4 that I could see, maybe more in shadow. Christina Knapp, I said, kept my voice low and steady. Park Service, I'm here to get you out. She didn't react. Eyes locked on me. No nod, no shift in posture. I moved forward and crouched next to her. Up close, I could see the bruising on her wrists where the cord bit in. Her clothes were filthy with that same wet dirt I'd seen on Chandler. The duct tape across her mouth was applied neat, straight line, no wrinkles. I pulled my knife from my belt and cut the cord at her wrists. It parted easy. I peeled the tape off her mouth slow, trying not to pull skin. She didn't flinch. "Can you stand?" I asked. She still didn't move, just stared past me toward the tunnel entrance. I hooked my hand under her arm and tried to pull her up. She resisted. Not violent, just went rigid and wouldn't shift her weight. Then she lifted her right hand and pointed hard toward a side passage I hadn't noticed before. A narrow opening maybe 3 feet wide in the left wall behind a rock formation. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out at first, then a whisper. Ragged. Don't. I looked where she pointed. The passage was dark. My maglite beam didn't reach far enough to see what was inside. "What's in there?" I asked. She shook her head once, hard, eyes wide now, urgent. That's when I heard movement, not from the passage, from the walls. Shapes unfolded at the edge of my light. Pale bodies crawling out of the wall slots, too thin, joints bent wrong, skin slick and stretched tight over ribs I could see pressing out. They moved on all fours with that same skittering sideways gait. Arms too long, legs bent backward at the knee. I counted 3, then 5, then lost count. I stood fast and turned to pull Christina up with me. She still resisted, but I hauled harder. Then a second figure rose behind her. Identical. Same dark hair, same torn sleeve on the left arm, same bruised wrists. It stood smooth and silent and stared at me without blinking. My brain caught up slow. Too slow. I'd freed a lure. The real Christina and Julie were still deeper in the tunnels. The thing I'd cut loose grabbed my wrist with both hands. Its skin felt wrong, Too smooth, too cold. It pulled me toward the side passage with strength I didn't expect. I slammed it sideways into the rock wall hard as I could. Its head hit limestone with a wet crack and it let go. The pale things from the slots cut off the stairwell, blocked the entrance completely, moving together, coordinated. I backed into the center of the chamber and swept my Glock across the room. The lure was already standing again. No blood, no visible damage, just staring. That's when I saw Emmy. In the side passage, the lure had tried to pull me toward, taped to a vertical pipe with her arms behind her back and duct tape across her mouth. Eyes locked on me, not scared, angry. The bandana trail was bait. I'd followed exactly what they wanted me to follow. I had 2 rounds left in my Glock, maybe 3. I'd lost count after the tunnel. My spare mag was on my belt, but reloading would take seconds I didn't have. Road flare, right pocket. I pulled it out and struck the cap hard. It ignited with a hiss, and bright red chemical light flooded the chamber. The pale things stopped moving, all of them, froze in place with their heads tilted at wrong angles. The floor had dry patches. Guano, I think. Old cloth scraps wadded in corners. I dropped the flare onto the nearest pile and it caught fast. Thick white smoke rolled up and filled the chamber in seconds. Chemical burn, sulfur and phosphorus. My eyes watered and my throat closed up. The creatures hesitated, pulled back toward the walls, then surged forward anyway. I fired twice into the closest one. Center mass. It jerked back but kept coming. I fired again. Click. Empty. I ran for the side passage and grabbed Emmy. The tape around her torso was wrapped maybe 6 times around the pipe. I didn't have time to cut it clean. I ripped at it with both hands and pulled her forward hard. The tape tore and she came free, stumbling into me. I shoved her toward the stairwell. Go! Now! She ran. I followed right behind her and kicked over 2 candles near the entrance as I passed. They rolled into cloth and more guano and caught. More smoke. The tunnel groaned, not loud. Just a low vibration I felt in my boots. Pebbles and dust shed from the ceiling. Emmy took the stairs fast. I stayed 3 steps behind her with my empty Glock still in my hand because I didn't have time to reload and it felt wrong to holster it. The stairwell turned and kept climbing. 40 steps. I counted again without thinking. The air cooled as we went up. The sour smell faded. We hit the main tunnel and I pushed Emmy left toward the exit. She didn't argue, just ran. The fluorescent lights overhead were still on, buzzing, flickering every few seconds. We passed the junction, took the right fork. The tunnel angled up and the ceiling rose back to normal height. The fence was ahead, chain link with barbed wire, gate still open. Chandler and Donnie were outside in the open air near the wash, standing together. Chandler had his arm around Donnie's shoulders. No Rodney. I pushed Emmy through the gate and looked back. Fresh, wet footprints led from the fence back down into the tunnel. Bare, adult-sized, same as before. Rodney's maglite was on the ground 10 feet inside the fence, still on, beam pointing at the wall. I didn't follow. I grabbed the maglite and pulled the gate shut. The broken padlock wouldn't hold, but I threaded the chain through anyway and twisted it tight. Chandler looked at me, didn't say anything. "Where's Rodney?" Emmy asked. Her voice was rough, throat probably raw from smoke or tape or both. "Gone," I said. "We have to..." "No." She stared at me, angry again, but she didn't push it. I got them all to the patrol truck, Emmy in front, Chandler and Donnie in back. I drove fast down Cavern Road with headlights cutting through pre-dawn dark. Nobody talked. Donnie was shaking. Chandler kept his arm around him the whole drive. I reached the ranger station 40 minutes before sunrise. Tommy was already there, standing outside with his radio in hand looking at the parking lot. I documented injuries. Chandler had lacerations on both hands and a sprained wrist. Donnie had bruising on his upper arms. Emmy had rope burns at her wrists and tape residue across her mouth and torso. I wrote it all down in the incident log without mentioning the radio failure or what I'd seen in the chamber or the lure or the bandana trail. I reported a restricted access breach at the maintenance gate, civilians access to closed area. Officer down, 1 adult female and 1 juvenile female still unaccounted for. Tommy read it twice, looked at me, looked at Chandler. Air quality, Tommy said. I nodded. He triggered an emergency response that morning, called it a structural hazard with potential toxic atmosphere from old guano decomposition and deteriorating support beams. Brought in Manuel Banks from maintenance to seal the biohazard gate. Manuel welded a steel plate across the entire gate frame by noon. 1/4-inch steel, bolted and welded at 12 points. Tommy stood there and watched the whole time. I let the official explanation stand because it closed the tunnels fast and kept people out. Julie Knapp was never recovered, listed as missing in the official report. Chandler and Donnie were transferred to family services, and I never saw them again. Emmy finished her internship 2 weeks later and left without saying much. Rodney Johnston's personnel file listed him as killed in the line of duty during a search and rescue operation. His body was never recovered either. That was 8 weeks ago. I still taste that sour air sometimes on routine patrols, warm and wet with rot underneath. I stay on marked routes now. Don't check the old access points. Don't go near the maintenance gate even though it's sealed. I know exactly how easily the rules can fail.